What's going on, guys? This is Highlight of Miners here. One of the questions I'm getting asked so often is, should I start a business for mining crypto? What are the advantages of starting a business? Now, I'm not a CPA, I'm not an attorney, but I am a serial entrepreneur. So let's talk about why I run my crypto mining as a business. Let's get into it. All right, so I think one of the first things that we need to talk about is the different type of business structures that you can have. Um, if you're going to start a business, this is sort of the first step. How am I going to structure the business? Now, we'll talk about the advantages of mining crypto inside of a business, but I really want to start with the fundamentals of what business types are there, right? So let's take a look at it here. So there's a few different business types, right? You have your sole proprietorship. Now, I will explain a little bit more on sole proprietorships a little later. This is what all of my wife and I's businesses are owned under, and I'll talk a little bit about why. You have partnerships, obviously, that's two or more people. You have limited liability companies, which our sole proprietorship is actually a limited liability company. You have corporations, the C Corp, S Corp, B Corp. But really, when you're talking about crypto mining, I think the two that you're probably looking at is limited liability company and sole proprietorship. So let me talk to you about why we are sole proprietorship. Um, my wife and I had both of our, actually all three of our businesses as partnerships, and then we got advice from our accountant that with a partnership, you actually have to file separate tax returns for each of those businesses if you're partners. So not only would you have the cost of filing your own taxes, you would then have the cost of filing every single business you own after that's taxes as well. With a sole proprietorship, we were able to just wrap the businesses into our tax filings underneath our personal tax filings. Now, again, not an accountant, not an attorney. So if you're interested in this, I would find a good accountant near you. I would find a good attorney near you, and they can help you navigate through this. I'm just talking about our current situation. So let's talk a little bit about what are some of the advantages of mining crypto in a business. I think the biggest advantage that you would see is that you can actually write off expenses. Now, in order to be called a business, you must be doing something for profit. If you have one card in your gaming rig and you're just mining as a hobby, that's not really a time that you would want to start a business. But if you're going to grow into a larger farm, let's say even 10 plus cards, I think it really makes sense to start looking at starting a business. So what can you actually do as a business as opposed to just doing something as an individual? Well, the first thing is the tax advantages. You can actually write off all your hardware. So your GPUs, your motherboards, your CPUs, your rigs. You can write off mileage to drive and pick these things up. You can write off your food if you're driving long distances. I live 4 hours from the closest micro center. If I drive 4 hours and I have to eat along the way, that's considered a normal business expense. Not only that, you can write off your electricity that you use, and there's some great videos out there on how to monitor electricity, and I can do one if you guys would like. You can also write off your subscriptions. So let's say that you use a program or a software such as cointracking.info, which I have a referral link if you want to check that out. That's how I track short-term, long-term gains, as in when does the actual crypto hit my wallet, right? That's a taxable event as the IRS sees it. And then when does that actually stay in my wallet for a year to where I now only pay short-term capital gains. I will link a video in the top left corner that talks a little bit about cryptocurrency taxes, and I explain that a little bit better. But those are some of the huge advantages of being able to write off your hardware, being able to write off your electricity, being able to write off your mileage, food that's associated with it, subscriptions that's associated with it. So there's a lot of advantages to running it as a business. I think one of the topics that a lot of people aren't talking about right now is the fact that we're dealing with such a high wattage coming out of our walls going into these rigs. There can be fires. Not only can there be fires, but something could happen in your personal home. Say you're cooking dinner. Things happen, right? And if you're mining at home, it's very important that you understand that insurance companies on your personal home may not cover all the cards and rigs that you have inside of your home. Now, I've talked to my insurance broker, and one of the benefits of having a business is I can actually get a business equipment protection on top of the protections that I already have in place. Now, what that does is it allows me to insure my rigs for their fair market value should, say, my house burn down. All right, so this all sounds great, right? But let's give you some real world scenarios. So let's take a look at, let's say, these are some parts that you bought throughout the year, right? You just got into crypto. It's December. You bought, it looks like, I don't know, Zotac. You bought a GPU, another GPU. Here's a 3070 Ti GPU you bought. You bought some risers from GPU risers. And if you guys don't know them, check them out. They're awesome. Awesome guys. Great product. Let's say you bought like an M2 to PCI, right? I just threw a bunch of random stuff that I had lying behind me here. And you bought a PSU, right? You can see the cost for all these things. These are just the cost that it would take to buy them today. So right here you have a total of $4,001.61. So now if you were running this as a hobby and you weren't running this as a business, this $4,001.61 would just be an expense to you. It would be money coming out. There'd be no advantage to that money coming out. Now, if you were running this as a business, what you would be able to do is write off this money. Meaning, the IRS code states that any money that you make from 0 to 10,000, 10,000 to, I think it's like 60-ish, 60 to 150, these are all taxed at different bracket levels. These different bracket levels have different percentages. So let's say you make 50 or 60K, you're probably paying 18% in taxes. Now, this $4,000 would come off your top of the line revenue that you made that year. So let's say you made $50,000 and you were taxed at $50,000. Well, this $4,000 would come off of that $50,000, making your tax burden only $46,000. Now, the benefit of that is that as you were getting your paychecks, the IRS sees you're taxed at a salary of $50,000, so they're expecting you to give in your W-2s at $50,000. This allows you to offset some of your earned income. So what is this? What is this? So let's take equals this times, let's say you are 18%, $720 that you're just left out there that you can't write off. You can't get that back. But this would come back in your tax return. Now, that's not perfect math. And again, a CPA would help you navigate through this and help figure this out. But you could be leaving this money out there. So let's play devil's advocate here and talk about some of the disadvantages of owning a business. Now, I do not believe that the disadvantages outweigh the advantages by far. But there are some things that you should know. Owning a business does cost money. There's the filing fees. Now, in every state, I believe, I live in Kentucky, and I know you can here, but I don't know about your specific state. You can actually apply for the LLC yourself. I pay an accountant to do it because I like it done right, and my time is very valuable to me. But you can, if you're just starting your first business, do it yourself. Another disadvantage is that the Secretary of State in our state requires us to register every year. Now, it's only $15 a year, so it's not crazy, but you do need to remember to register every year to stay in good standing with the Secretary of State. Another disadvantage is that the Treasury in your particular state probably will charge you every year. In Kentucky, I believe it's $75 or it might be $150. So every year we have to pay that to the treasurer for them to even look at our tax returns, which is crazy to me, but that's just how the system works. So there are additional costs associated with owning a business, but if we look back at, let's look back at this, guys. I'm telling you. So if we look back at this, I just told you guys maybe $250 a year worth. This is just $4,000 in expenses on crypto mining hardware. Let's say that you spend $10,000, $20,000. As you can tell, the disadvantages don't outweigh the advantages. So my recommendation would be find a CPA, find an attorney. They'll consult with you for free. Really look into, is this a hobby for you? Some people may buy a few cards, try it, and they really just don't like it. So make sure that it's actually something that you like, that you're going to do. I fell in love with it. Absolutely fell in love with it. Within 3 years, I see myself easily having 100 GPUs in my farm, and you guys can go through that story with me. We're gonna talk about things like heat, moisture. We're gonna talk about how to grow a farm. What are some of the maintenance things that people aren't talking about with a farm? What are some of the expenses that people aren't talking about with a farm? But regardless of all that, make sure that you have a love and sort of an addiction for this before you start a business. I know that there's a lot that we haven't covered. I'm going to be doing a lot more on what I'm going to call like a business series of crypto mining, because I do understand that space a little better. So if there's a video that you guys want to see, feel free to leave it in the comments below. I will try to make a video on it. And I know that there's a lot of things that we haven't covered. So if you have questions, throw them down in the comment section. If you guys don't mind, smash that like button, because the YouTube algorithm just absolutely loves it. And I'll see you guys next time.